for this section is a man from Virgin Group, and give him the final round of applause for this section, Alex Hunter. Can't believe I see it all this time. All this time, it was always you. Now I know why my heart wasn't satisfied.
All right, guys, last speaker of the day. You made it. I am the only thing standing between you and alcohol. That is power if I've ever had it. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Oh, they've cut my time down. Okay, we're gonna get through this nice and fast then. So, what I want to talk about, and it just went up. They're messing with me already. What I want to spend the next 35 minutes talking about is how we can stand out above the crowd in what is an increasingly crowded marketplace. No matter what market you're in, there's so much more noise, there's so much more competition, there's so much more we have to do to let people know that we even exist, let alone convince them that that they should buy our product or use our service or whatever. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you exactly what to do, because that would be hugely presumptuous of me, but also I don't think it would help you. So what I want to do is share some ideas and some examples and philosophies that I've been a part of professionally, that I've experienced as a consumer, that I've seen, and they just made me smile, and I like sharing them. And they're going to be from huge companies that I know you've all heard of, to very small, like 1- and 2-person teams that I'm very confident that none of you have heard of, and that's okay. In fact, I would argue that the lessons that we can learn from the small companies are even more powerful because they don't have any money, so they have to be creative with the resources that they have. And you know, the bottom line is this: we have to work so hard these days. We really, we have all these frameworks and technologies and platforms available to us, and these are good things, but the reality of the situation is, in 2017, you can launch a new product or service or application or feature on a Monday, and on Friday you'll have a competitor. That's not exaggeration, that's just the reality of the game that we're playing. And that's fine. I think for you guys, it's probably a benefit. To slow, old companies, it's terrifying. It's really, really scary. And we've moved so quickly away from the old way of doing things. Fundamentally, the landscape of business has changed more dramatically in the last 15 years than it ever has in the history of business. We all helped do that. But now I think it's important to take a step back and go, what actually has changed in the relationship between the customer and the brand? I'll tell you a secret. It's a terribly kept secret, but it's still something that we don't talk about too much. In the olden days, like 15 years ago, marketing was the easiest job in the world. I'm a marketer. I'm a career marketer, so I get to say this. A moron could have been a marketer. Lots of marketers are morons, but anybody could have been a marketer. It was super easy because it was an entirely one-way conversation. It wasn't even a conversation, it was just them yelling. They would put up their billboard or their TV ad or their radio ad saying, buy our product, use our service, vote for our politician, whatever. And we had, as the consumer, no way of asking a question. You can't tweet a billboard. You can't call a call center before that concept has been invented. There was no way for us to challenge them on the claims that they were making about their product. Marketers, being the exploitative bunch of people that we are, very quickly took advantage of this, to the point where it got ridiculous. These are all real ads from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Basically, smoke cigarettes and you will get healthier. We don't even let cigarette companies advertise in a lot of countries anymore. If they tried to say anything like that, we would destroy them in about 45 seconds. You mean a woman can open it? That's a feature, apparently. So the next time you launch a new product on your site, it's faster, it's cheaper, it lasts longer, it's better, and women can use it. Try that, I dare you. And let's not overlook the very obvious sexual imagery in that picture. They knew exactly what they were doing in the 1950s. And that's not a small company either. That's Del Monte, the second largest producer of tomato-based products in the whole wide world. For my technical people in the room, you mean this is a computer? And the single greatest strap, you like that one? I like that one too. The single greatest strap line in advertising history, you bet your sweet telex operator it is. I don't even know what that means. I have this next one framed in my office because I really think it shows how far we've come, both as marketers and as human beings. Blow in her face and she'll follow you anywhere. Super quick, ladies, is that true? I've been doing it wrong. They're no longer in business. So just as an aside, I love the image that I've painted in my head of a bunch of white guys, because it was a bunch of white guys, sitting around a desk somewhere in New York as their ad agency pitched them creative. No. Yes, that's it. That's the one. That's the ad that's going to represent our company. Holy shit. So there's a demographic of people. Many of you are part of this demographic, I am sure. That traditional marketing doesn't work on us. We understand what is happening when we see an ad. We know the mechanics at play. We know what the marketer wants us to feel and wants us to do. So they just bounce right off of us. We don't react. In fact, sometimes we just pick them apart. And we've realized that sometimes we can get around this by putting the messages in the hand of an influencer, a famous person, or like if you have 1,000 Instagram followers, it seems you're a celebrity now. This is not a new concept, even though modern marketers have been patting themselves on the back going, we figured it out. No, this has been going on for 50 years. And if you don't believe the brand, then perhaps you will believe legendary American comedian Bob Hope in one of the creepiest pictures I've ever seen. And if Bob says smoke Chesterfield cigarettes, then you're gonna smoke Chesterfield cigarettes. Now, if you are a savvy consumer, you understand that Bob has been paid to say this. He may not actually like it. He's been paid to endorse this product. So if you don't believe Bob Hope, then you will believe your doctor. And if your doctor tells little Timmy there to smoke Camel cigarettes, little Timmy's gonna grow up smoking Camel cigarettes. No one knows whether they should laugh at that. It's fine, Timmy's been dead for a long time. But the reason why we can laugh at these is because we have moved so far away from this type of conversation, from this type of relationship between brand and consumer, that they just seem not only offensive, but bizarre that we would have ever done this at a macro level, which is what we did. So what actually happened? Why are those funny? Why is it weird? Well, fundamentally, the relationship between consumer and brand has changed forever. As consumers, we will no longer tolerate being abused by companies, by being treated as a line in a spreadsheet somewhere. We want to take the power back in that relationship, and that is what e-commerce really has allowed us to do. Fundamentally, the myth that we're busting here is that in 2017, providing a product or service is not enough. You have to do so much more than that. I spend a lot of time with startups, and there's this crazy Kool-Aid that they all drink called "If you build it, they will come," which is just weapons grade crap. It's just not true. There are so many components, ingredients that you need to create something meaningful that's not just transactional. And the first thing is create emotion. Make me feel something, for God's sakes. I'm not getting all hippie on you here. There's some science I'll get into in a second. I am obsessed with the idea of loyalty, psychology of loyalty. I've spent most of my career trying to unpick it. And the only thing that I've confirmed in my own mind is that loyalty is a fundamentally emotional thing. Without emotion, you cannot have loyalty. Loyalty in many instances transcends reason and ration. We will make very strange decisions based on emotion, and loyalty is one of the outputs of that. So we have to bake this into everything that we do. This is a quote from Mad Men. Anyone who's seen Mad Men? It's basically like porn to marketing people. Fundamentally, like, what I feel when I experience your product for the first time, what I feel when I unbox it and see it in the flesh for the very first time, how I feel when I step from the street into your store for the very first time, how I feel when I start as a pissed off customer, call you up, how I feel at the end of that call, that is what gets me coming back. And there's a Canadian neuroscientist called Dr. Donald Cullen, whose work I'm doing a little bit of a disservice by compressing like this, but he wrote a very boring book a few decades ago actually. But in that very boring book was this golden nugget, and it was this. He basically figured out that if you want someone to actually do something, to act, it is much more efficient, it's actually required, for you to stimulate the emotional part of who they are. And he figured this out because ultimately reason will lead to conclusion. 1 + 1 = 2, the specifications of this product will meet my needs, but they won't get me to do something. If I want you to do something, I have to appeal to the emotional side of who you are. That part of the brain is also where action is driven from. So if we're not stimulating you in a way that touches your emotion, you ain't gonna do anything. But I know we've been a little theoretical, so I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. What brand or product or service do you love that you use every day and have done since maybe you were even a child, that gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling every time you use it or you see an ad for them? What brand or product or service could you not live without? Shout them out to me, give them to me. I know it's late. Apple, I get that. Apple. Yes, dude, Mario today. So I did this once and some guy was just like, beer. It was 9:30 in the morning. I had way more questions for him than he had for me. So mine is Diet Coke. There is absolutely nothing better to me in the whole world than a cool, crisp, no they're not paying me, refreshing can of Diet Coke. I know it's gonna hit the spot. I know it's gonna taste the same no matter where I go in the world. I am 100% loyal to Diet Coke. So much so that if I go into a bar or a restaurant and I order a Diet Coke and the waiter or waitress says, hey, would Diet Pepsi be okay? It's like they've spit on my grandmother. No, how dare you suggest such a thing? Now, the reasonable, rational part of me is like, dude, it's the same thing. It's brown water in a tin can that's slowly killing you. Settle down before they kick us out. The emotional part of me is like, let's burn this place to the ground. Now, if I can have such a passionate, emotional relationship and response to something as benign and boring as brown water in a can, there's not a single product on earth that can, that can't create that relationship with somebody somewhere. And a great way to at least move in that direction is to create a sense of individuality. Consumers in 2017 demand to be treated as an individual, as they should, because it's basically how businesses worked until about 15 years ago. And 15 years ago, in the .com 1.0 boom, we realized that personalization and individuality was important because it's how business had always been done. But technologically, it was very difficult back then. We hadn't figured out how to do it cheaply or effectively. So we thought, okay, we're putting that stuff over here. We will come back to it because it is important, and let's go make Facebook and Google and Twitter and stuff. And so we did, but we forgot about this until customers were like, hey, I kind of don't like being treated as a group or as a blob. My name is Alex, and I'm not just sir or customer. So we went panicked and we thought, okay, well, this still sounds really expensive, but creating a sense of individuality does not have to be expensive or require a huge CRM service. Great customer experience is the coming together of lots of little, tiny, wonderful things to create delight. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. There's a hotel in New York City, around Times Square. It's a boutique hotel, so not part of a chain. And the first time I went to this hotel was about 10 years ago. And you know when you go to a hotel and you check in, you have to fill in a form, most often. Name, email address, sometimes passport number, all that stuff. At the bottom of this one, it said, what are your favorite snacks? I was like, well, whatever, dude, blah, 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 blah. Diet Coke, obviously. Completed the transaction, left my bags, and went downtown for some meetings at Virgin headquarters, North America headquarters. When I came back to my room later that day, went straight up, there was a handwritten note from the manager saying, Dear Alex, because that's my name, we hope you have a great stay, blah, 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 blah. And there was a basket full of my favorite snacks and a fridge full of Diet Coke. This is the greatest hotel in the world. I am not staying in another hotel no matter what. Holy crap. Now, it's a cheap psychological trick that was pioneered by the Mandarin Oriental group decades ago to put something small but familiar in a guest's hotel room. Suddenly, they're no longer staying in a homogeneous box 5,000 miles away from their loved ones. There's something there that's familiar and consistent. All of a sudden, that sense of homesickness and dislocation melts away. I'm relaxed. I'm comfortable. And all of that positive brand love flows back to the mother brand. That's not what they did right. That's the easy bit. Here's what they did right. Every time I go back to this hotel, 2 weeks, 2 months, a year later, they have kiosks now to check in. I don't have to talk to anybody. It's wonderful. Type in, blah, 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 get my key, go back up to my room, or up to my room for the very first time, and there's another note. Dear Alex, welcome back. Context. Basket full of snacks, fridge full of Diet Coke. It sounds so simple and easy, but it's a total shift in the way that they perceive customer. It's gone from transaction to relationship, where we remember things about the people that have come into our lives. It sounds so simple, but it would be like me, not falling down the stairs, coming up and going, hey, I'm Alex. And then I go over and I talk to somebody else for like 30 seconds and come back and go, hey, I'm Alex. And you're like, dude, we just met. You're kind of a dick for not remembering that. We would never do that to another human being. Why would we do that to our customers, who, by the way, are also human beings? It's shifting from this idea that everyone is a transaction. We spent a long time optimizing transaction. That's fine. That's good. We're really, really good at it. But what we now need to do is balance that with investment in relationship and understanding the broader context of that transaction into something more meaningful. And out of that comes all this data that ordinarily looks like exhaust, but suddenly, if we're looking at things like a relationship, we have context for that data, and it becomes extraordinarily valuable because it allows us to unlock moments of delight for individual customers. I'll give you an example. So I have a gold card on Virgin Atlantic, not because I used to work for their parent company, because I travel way too much. I've had that thing for 10 years too. And I usually sit in the cheap seats, not in the pointy end of the airplane, so I earned that thing the hard way. Now, how many of you have flown on Virgin Atlantic? Maybe not too many of you, a few of you, right? So you know the inside of the airplane, meh, compared to like Singapore Airlines, Cathay, Pacific, Emirates, those guys. Virgin Atlantic are tiny. They can't compete with that type of money. But where they can compete is these little tiny moments of delight. I'll give you an example. Like when I'm at the very back of the airplane, I've taken my seat, 72B, middle seat, next to the screaming kids. 2 kids in my case. Someone from the in-flight team will come all the way back to the airplane and go, hi, Alex, it's good to see you again. Welcome back. And they'll hand me a glass of champagne. Alex, not sir, not seat 72B, not frequent flyer 8979694. Alex, because that's my name. I don't even like champagne, but I'm going to drink that shit because I know exactly what had to happen for that little micro moment to take place. And all of this kind of cultural DNA that happens within the group, especially at Atlantic, was brought to a head about 2 years ago. I was flying from San Francisco to London, and we were literally 90 seconds after takeoff. Wheels had gone up, and there's an announcement. Would Alex Hunter please make himself known to the cabin crew? And I was like, oh no, what? Well, they can't kick me off because we're already in the air, so okay, ding. Moments later, a member of the cabin crew comes by and hands me a glass of champagne and says, from your friend in a high place. And I thought, oh, Richard Branson, you're so sweet. That's not what happened. Watch this.
Southwest 4809, hold short over runway 28 left. Virgin 42, I have a request when you have a minute.
Go ahead, Virgin 42 Heavy.
Virgin 42, once you guys get settled in, if you could give a warm welcome to Alex and Deanne Hunter. They're good friends of mine that are on your plane tonight.
So that's Alex and Deanne Hunter, Virgin 42 Heavy. We'll do that for you.
You got it, thank you, I appreciate it.
So if you're an airplane dork like I am, that's like getting a shout out from God. So I obviously have a friend that's an air traffic controller at San Francisco, and what I think, I never would have known that that interaction had taken place had something rather magical not happened alongside it and at a brand level within the Virgin Group. Those pilots, or that at least that pilot that you heard, was handed a piece of completely useless information, useless at least to the safe passage of that flight. At the single most important moment of that flight, seconds before the four throttles go forward and 320 people are taken 5,600 miles across the earth. There is no more important, complicated, busy points of the flight. They could have gone, okay, we'll do that. Okay, let's just fly the friggin' airplane. And I would not have known, and it would have been fine. You couldn't have blamed them. But instead what they did was they called someone up from the cabin crew and said, this chap is on the airplane, he's a friend of the air traffic controllers, and they got us out a little bit early. Then that's it. And the members, I can assure you, as fact, that nowhere in the in-flight, the cabin crew employee manual does it say, if there is a friend of the air traffic controller on the airplane, give them 50 cents worth of mediocre champagne. That does not exist. Those words do not exist. But within that organization culturally is constantly be looking for little tiny things that you can flip into something wonderful for the customer. And if it doesn't cost any money, that's even better. But spread across this at a cultural, at a DNA level in that brand is this perpetual search for these moments. And that's why I continue to fly them, despite having left the group years ago. Now, this word, wow, it's a word that I love. I think as marketers, we've just abused it, we've diluted it. It's been completely ruined, but the pure meaning of that word is still wonderful, and I'm on a little bit of a crusade to bring it back. You guys all know what that is, right? It's the Nest thermostat. It was created by Tony Fadell, who was the inventor of the iPod, co-inventor of the iPhone, and when he left Apple with his literally billions of dollars, he could have done anything. But he was like, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do home heating and air conditioning, because that sounds fun. And you know, they could have done it, like thermostats generally are like white boxes. They're uninspired physically. They could have produced them in 8 wacky colors and we would have gone, holy shit, I want one right now. And I'll pay $100 more than the white version, because that's kind of how we are as people. But they didn't. They took a step back and reimagined the experience in its entirety. What are we trying to do? Well, we are in control of one of the most important components of a human's comfort. Let's think about how we can do this better. So they reinvented it. It's connected to your phone. It knows what temperature you like. It starts to adjust the temperature before you get home so that it's perfect when you get there and all of that. That's amazing and life changing. It really is. But not only that, the physical manifestation of the experience, that is so beautiful that I just want to lick it, right? And now you have people saying, hey man, why don't you come to my house and look at my thermostat? No one has ever said that. So now my challenge to you is that I don't think there's a single product on this earth that can't elicit that response from somebody somewhere. At least that's what we've all got to be striving towards. And it's really about how you tell the story more than anything, how you package the experience. There's this wonderful quote by Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote, among other things, the 2001 A Space Odyssey. And he said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And what that means is, as a consumer, I don't care how it works. I care that it works. The mechanics behind the scene are completely irrelevant to me, but what it can do for me is life-changing. The first time I showed my father Uber was about 5 years ago. And it was a Friday night in London. It was raining sideways, as it seems to always do where I live. And we weren't going to get a taxi. It just wasn't going to happen. And so I was like, no, I'm sorry, I'll get an Uber. He's like, what's an Uber? Look, I show him my phone with the app. And he's like, oh, look, the little cars are moving around, cool. And I was like, yeah, here's ours. As far as my father knows, his son pressed a button on his phone and a car appeared. As far as my father knows, his son is a wizard. Now, my father does not care about the technology used to make that moment happen. He doesn't care about the political battles that go on in every city around the world in which Uber operates. All he cares about as a kind of technology rookie is that he can go anywhere in the world almost and press a button, a car will appear, he gets in, he doesn't say a word, they take him to where he wants to go, he gets out and doesn't have to give them any money. He hasn't figured out it's attached to his credit card, but we'll let that one go. That storytelling, that packaging is so powerful that I'll get text messages from him saying, hey Alex, did you know they have Uber in Hong Kong? I was like, that's 3 o'clock in the morning, I kind of don't care. But the magic that's elicited in him is really quite extraordinary. Now, here's the thing. If you are lucky enough to create this wonderful sense of magic, please preserve that illusion. We're all big kids. We know magic is an illusion. But it's incredibly rare to create that sense among somebody who is a user of your product. There is an airline, a big airline, who I won't name, it's not fair, doesn't really matter. They had this really great application of technology to create great customer experience. And what they did was this. They gave the cabin manager in first business economy an iPad. And what was supposed to happen was, as a high-value customer, when I scan my boarding pass, right as I'm about to get on the airplane, my information pops up on the iPad of the cabin manager. Picture, name, how you want to be addressed, like Alex or Sir, Mr. Hunter, whatever. The last 5 flights you've taken, favorite meal, favorite drink, favorite seat. And what's supposed to happen is the iPad dings, they look at it, they put it down, they pretend to do something, then they do the whole kind of like double take, and then they go, Alex, oh, great to see you, how the heck are you? Oh, by the way, I was Tokyo last week, great city, love that place. Listen, got your favorite seat, gin and tonic's on the way, it's 2 lines, right? And you're like, oh, you love me. You remember me of all the hundreds of thousands of people that you've seen since I was last on board. You remember me. I feel like $1 million. This is amazing. Cool. I wish that was the end of the story, but it's not. Because 6 weeks after the trial happened, they put out a press release explaining exactly how they did it. The technology, the information, the cues. And so it's like, oh, you're meaningless to us. The iPad told me to kiss your ass. Like, great, now I feel like a Tinder date. I feel gross, I want to go take a shower. This is disgusting. If they just let that lie and do what they needed to do, I know that they don't remember me, but at least they're trying. And they've ruined all of that goodwill. Now there's this word, the C word, the community, and the other one, that we've ruined that one too. But it's very powerful and it's very, very important. And I want to share a story that I love telling because it shows how a tiny little company can beat the big guys, and it's rather fun to share. So about, oh my goodness, 9 years ago, holy cow, there was a Swedish American, actually, he was from Sweden, and when he worked for Skype, and when Microsoft bought Skype, he was like, you know, I'm done with the tech game, and I'm going to open a Mexican restaurant in London because I can't get good Mexican food in London. It's driving me crazy. He was super right too. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna open a Mexican restaurant. Problem was, he basically picked the worst time in all of human history to open a fast food restaurant. Because like weeks later, the whole economy imploded around the world, and he knew he had a good product. Of this, he was very confident. But he just couldn't get, people weren't spending money. They were eating at home, or they weren't just spending money. So he's like, okay, I'm 6 weeks away from not being able to pay my employees. I've got to get people through the door. So he held the UK's first burrito eating competition. I will explain what a burrito is in a moment if you're not familiar. It was £10 to enter. All the money went to a national children's charity. This wasn't to raise money, it was to get people to experience the product. And I just want to show you a few pictures of how fun this could be. This guy was a blogger for one of the big newspapers in the UK, and he was absolutely ready to win this thing. He's got his protective equipment on. So a burrito is a flat wrap filled with meat, cheese, rice, vegetables, about the size of a baby. And the challenge was to see how quickly you could eat it, not how many you could eat, because that would be gross. And immediately this guy's off, and he wants to win it. He's doing well. And then immediately it starts to go very, very wrong. Oh, no, you're not going to see a man puke, are you? No, okay, he was all right. He did not win. My brother won. My brother is the reigning UK burrito eating champion. We're all very proud of him. Now, this was written about in every newspaper in the UK, in every advertising journal, in every marketing and branding journal, and every food services journal, as a great way to introduce an unfamiliar product to a wide audience in a fun and engaging way. Now, 3 years after this happened, a huge American conglomerate called Chipotle said, hey guys, thanks so much for doing our market research and finding out if the Brits will eat burritos. Now we're going to come and destroy you. And so they brought over this, they were a $1.6 billion company. They brought over this very templatized experience, dropped it in London and said, okay, London, eat. And London, they couldn't replicate that level of community engagement. And just a few years later, they packed up and left because they could not compete. Meanwhile, the little guys aren't little anymore. They've gone on to 20 stores all over the UK, and I think European expansion is happening soon. I love telling that story. When I ran a music startup, it was a user-generated content music startup, and every Friday I would look at our metrics and say, who's been really active? Who's been a really great member of the community? And I would write them, like myself, a handwritten note, not even a letter, 2 sentences. Thanks so much for helping us build this thing. And some stickers, and people flipped out. They're like, I got a handwritten note in the mail that's not a ransom note. What is happening? This is amazing. And they just loved that we were breaking down the barrier between online and offline. This guy was like, oh, they sent them airmail all the way to New Zealand. I don't really understand how we thought we were going to get them there. Anyway, he was excited. But if you are going to do this, and I strongly recommend that you do, 200 notes in your fair hand are far more powerful than 20,000 dear sir and or madams, because then you avoid stuff like this. Dear no. That's a kick in the balls, right? That's my bank. That's my bank. If my bank cannot handle a simple mail merge, can they safely keep my money? No, I no longer bank with them. This is the topic I want to end on, because I think it's caught a lot of us off guard. In the olden days, there was online and offline, and they never met. They were always siloed between each other, right? So online was the IT guys in the basement that you were never supposed to talk to. Offline was everything else. Those days are gone. The line isn't blurred, it doesn't exist. And the consumer has forced that change. And it caught so many of us off guard. Because we have these devices that allow us to communicate 24 hours a day, consumers have demanded that we are available 24 hours a day. Not only that, they have demanded that we are available on whatever platform they choose. Not only that, they want to be able to switch up between platforms mid-conversation. Start a conversation on Twitter, call up, and continue. Start an order online, go into the shop and finish it. It's exhausting. But it doesn't need to be as complicated as that. And this final story I want to share with you is proof of that. This company, Pact, are a subscription coffee company in the UK. Every week or so you get a package in the mail. It's wonderful coffee beans. When this interaction happened, they were two people struggling with their own, paying out of their own pockets in a warehouse in a not very nice part of London. This was the Saturday before Christmas when this happened. I was at my grandmother's house in rural England, nursing a substantial hangover, not really wanting to move anything except my thumb. So I was flicking through Twitter when I came across this tweet. Ad is a sponsored tweet. I did not follow them. And it says, proper coffee, hand roasted, blah, 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 blah. Now, we all have that word. That makes us unbelievably angry for no reason. We all have that word. You're thinking of it right now. It could be moist or bespoke or pencil. I don't know. You have yours, I have mine. Mine is proper. I hate that word so much, especially when it's used in marketing because it's lazy, it's elitist, it's meaningless, it's self-aggrandizing. And I was so blinded by my brand rage that I actually replied to a sponsored tweet. Hey guys, negative points for using the word proper. You're better than that, love, blah, blah, blah. And I even did the ultra jerk move of putting a full stop before my tweet so everybody that follows me could see how emotionally unhinged I was. Put my phone back in my pocket, having done my angry old man branding bit, and resumed my hangover. Saturday before Christmas, 2 people at this entire company. It's important to remember that. Moments later, my phone dings. A reply. Sorry, we didn't mean to sound snobbish, just looking for a word that conveys good taste. Maybe just tasty. Right. But here's the thing. I genuinely believe that if you can be confident, you can project confidence, you can be confident if you genuinely believe in the quality of what you are producing. Confidence in a brand, just like confidence in a human being, is incredibly attractive. So I said that. I think you could legitimately refer to yourselves as great. I love what you're doing, keep smashing it. And they replied very humbly and politely and quickly. And I thought, wow, that's a great case study. 2 days before Christmas, any big company would have just gone psycho, blocked, and I never would have heard from them again. But these guys chose to engage with me and explain themselves. I was excited to be able to share this case study. That's not where it ended. That Monday, we're at the office, and a courier knocks on the door about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and hands us a recycled Amazon box. In that box is a whole bunch of packed coffee and a handwritten Christmas card that says, Dear Alex, we hope you and your loved ones enjoy this over the festive period. Great coffee, sent fresh, love Pact. And I was like, you've gotta be friggin' kidding me. So, first of all, they figured out who I was, where I worked, that I wasn't a psycho, what our address was, take the time to box up a bunch of coffee, write an offline note that referenced an online conversation. An amazing amount of effort. But here's the thing, we were already customers. It's not like they were trying to win us over as a gimmick. They were just talking to me like they would to somebody else that had made an ass of themselves on the internet. They were making fun of me. They were giving me the old nudge, going, ah. So even now, to this day, I get random boxes of coffee in the mail going, more great coffee, Alex, you jackass. An extraordinary, and they've scaled it. I mean, they're just smashing it. These guys do amazing work now, and I love that. But here's the thing. So often when I come off stage from these things, people say, okay, what's next? What's the next big trend? Should we be on Snapchat? What is Snapchat? And here's the thing, you're in this room because you are already doing amazing things. Just keep doing them. Find the people that love what you're doing, engage with them, acknowledge them, have a conversation with them. Keep it positive, build great things, and you are going to change the world. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Stuff. Alex Hunter! Great stuff. So, for the final time today, we go to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. What's your verdict? I'm sorry, questions. Questions.
So now the question stands in between the questions and the alcohol.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
So yes, it's your problem now.
Yeah. When do you think, I think all about the customer experience and everything, I mean, it's something that we have not really seen in e-commerce.
Yeah.
Well, when do you think, internet retailers would be better on this?
When they realize that because you are online, it doesn't mean you have to stay online. It drives me crazy actually. So many digital companies go, oh, well, we're digital, we don't have a physical presence. Nonsense, absolute crap. You have to find ways to break that self-imposed barrier between online and offline, because there is something incredibly powerful about a digital or purely online company suddenly being tangible and physical and tactile and real. It's different if you're sending them a physical product. You can use that as a platform to do this. But if you are selling digital goods or a service, you have to find creative ways to engage. And people always say, but that doesn't scale. It doesn't have to. If you hit a couple of people that have made first-time customers, repeat customers, people that have brought in a lot of people to your organization, they're powerful, they're influential. If they go and tell 3 of their friends, that's priceless. You can't buy that level of advocacy, no one can. So it's just breaking down that wall that we've built in front of ourselves, weirdly enough, that says, I'm digital, therefore I can't be physical.
Cool. So Alex, actually your presentation reminded me of one of my keynotes, so it looks like a copy of yours. But anyhow, so you touched upon the different eras, basically, that we've lived in. So in the mid-50s, we had the information era, you just receive information.
Yeah.
In the mid-80s, we started the connection era, and then we're currently in the connection era, the protection era. So I decide who I follow, who I communicate with, which brands, and so on.
Yeah.
Which era do you think will be next? What will happen when it comes to consumer interaction or all these kind of things from your point of view?
I think that the pendulum is going to swing even more towards the customer having the power in that relationship. It's a bit of a struggle right now, and I think the more data leaks that we have, the more companies that abuse their customers or customer bases or do shady shit, we're not going to let it go anymore, and we're just going to kill them overnight by not shopping. That's the power that we have. Because you don't have to get in the car and drive down to the store and browse and find the product, go to the till. That's quite a lot of effort. But if now I can buy, with my watch, for Pete's sake, if I'm like, you know what, I don't like you. I don't like what you stand for. I don't like the quality of our interaction. I'm not going to pay with my watch anymore. I'm not going to pay you at all. And that's power. And the power is with the consumer, or at least getting there. And I think we're just moving into that age now where the pendulum is swinging in that direction. And it's forced an incredible amount of change in every facet of commerce. And so I'm excited to see what the next 5 years does on top of all of the wonderful technology that's being developed to unlock that as well. So I think we're going to see more of that, where consumer is driving the industry.
I usually call it consumers becoming dictators. So do you agree that this is...
And then that's when we know we've gone too far and we need to go back a little bit. But yeah, this individuality, customer centricity is really important.
Cool. Yeah, that's it. Let's wrap this up.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's go.
Round of applause again, Alexandra.
Thank you.
Good job.